Hi there, Pamela Katie here, and in this video I want to share with you the influence that author David Hawkins had on the intention of this CD, which is to inspire the experience of peace, healing, and a higher level of consciousness in all who listen to it. So in 2003, I was reading one of David Hawkins' books, and actually now I can't remember whether it was Power versus Force or Eye of the Eye. I think it might have been his second book, Eye of the Eye. So to give you a context of who David Hawkins is, so he was known as a healing psychiatrist, he was a physician, he was a lecturer, he was a researcher. For some people, he actually was a spiritual teacher. And he wrote several books. And one of the major contributions that he made was that he scientifically validated the effectiveness of kinesiology, or what's known as muscle testing. And he created a scale of the map of consciousness. So this map of consciousness is a scale of 1 to 1,000. And 700 to 1,000 is actually the level of enlightenment. You know, so people like Jesus Christ, Buddha, Krishna calibrate at this level of 700 to 1,000. And then 600 to 700 is the level of peace. And the level of 540 to 600 is the level of joy, and on and on and on. And everything below 200, everything that calibrates at the level 200 and below is all negative emotion. You know, it's anger, sadness, depression, fear, jealousy, things like that. So that gives you a context. So I was reading one of David Hawkins' books, and I was reading the section that was talking about the level of 600, which is the level of peace. And while I was reading it, I had the thought, maybe I should calibrate my CD to the level of peace. And in the moment that I had that thought, I got goosebumps from head to toe on my whole body. And then in the next sentence I read after that was, all the great works of art in the world calibrate at this level. And I just started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is obviously a thought I'm meant to follow, right? And so that evening, I actually saw my co-producer, Joe Gagan, and I told him about this whole experience. And he said, wow, cool. And we had a mutual friend, Dr. Ray Mazzone, who had also been reading David Hawkins' books and had been experimenting with muscle testing and calibrating herbs and creating really high-level herbal tinctures and tonics for his clients. So we knew that he had some experience and some competence in actually muscle testing. So I told Joe, I said, I'm going to see if Ray will muscle test the songs on my CD to calibrate at the level of peace. And he's like, cool. He's like, and I got an idea. And I said, what's that? And he said, have him test raising the tuning up a half a step to C sharp. And I said, why? And he said, because that's the closest note to the note of the earth. So with the intention being that it would be even more relaxing for people if the tuning was at this level. And I said, okay, I'll have him test that too. So I called my friend, Dr. Ray Mazzone, and I told him what I was up to. And we set up a time to get together. And he came over to my apartment, and he was really giddy like a little kid. And I said, why are you so excited? And he said, because you're going to learn so much. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what am I going to learn? You know, you're the one that's doing it. And so I had written down the names of all my songs, and we were going through and we were calibrating what level they tested at. And one of the songs that was a beautiful song and that I had actually already recorded, and I just absolutely knew that song was for sure going on my CD because it was so beautiful and people loved it. And so that song actually calibrated below 200 when we tested it. And in fact, it calibrated at the level of anger. And I was shocked, you know, and I was like, are you sure? And so we tested it again, and it was the same result, of course. And so we kept moving on through all the songs. And so by the end of our session together, I realized that all of the songs calibrated at the level of emotion that I was experiencing while I wrote the song. And that song that calibrated at the level of anger, I remembered that I had gotten up in the middle of the night that night because I was really upset with some guy. And I got up and I wrote that song. And I was angry. And so if you remember in the last video, I told you that all the songs on Gypsy Journey came through me, not from my experience, my emotion, right? And it's because all of those songs got 86, right? So this is one of those songs that came from my emotion. And so it totally didn't make it on the CD. So, oh, and by the way, it did test positive for raising the tuning up a half a step. So the majority of the notes in this tuning are C sharp and G sharp. And as we recorded more and more of the acoustic guitar tracks, we were hearing more instrumentation to be added to the songs. And as we recorded more and more, the intention of the CD for me shifted too. I didn't just want the CD and the music on the CD to calibrate at the level of peace. I actually wanted the listener of the music to experience peace. So the intention shifted to inspiring the experience of peace, healing, and a higher level of consciousness in all who listen to it. And so as we were hearing more and more instrumentation to be put on these songs, I would write out a list of instruments to be added to different songs, including potential musicians to play those instruments. And I would meet with Ray and we would calibrate what instruments were to be played on that song, including what musicians. And all of this was tested up against that intention of inspiring the experience of peace, healing, and a higher level of consciousness in all who listen to it. So that's the story of the influence that David Hawkins had on the intention of this CD. So if you have already pledged to Gypsy Journey CD Kickstarter campaign, thank you so much. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and do that right now. And please share this Kickstarter with campaign with people that you know would appreciate the music. Until next time,